If the VIX is any guide, the market is already over the entire tariff nonsense from yesterday. And if the markets are any guide, they're flattish, which is not unexpected in a week when there's very little reporting. However, the NFIB came out this morning, very interesting, and we'll be covering that later in the show. And we've got a very long article from the Wall Street Journal. I think you'll want to listen to the whole thing because it digs into a lot of different aspects of what's going on with Tesla, especially in China. And I think it's useful. And I highly recommend you hang in there for that entire article. You see, among other things with regard to the overnight tariff news is that apparently Japan has already bent the knee. And so that has caused markets to settle down as usual with regard to the tariffs. Scott Jennings and Mr. Wonderful are among others who are apparently on a mission to patch up the differences between Elon and POTUS. Mr. Wonderful said yesterday that he plans to make phone calls to each. Apparently, he has those numbers, and he plans to call each of them and talk to them about how they can get this thing solved. They note, as I've been saying for months, that the combination of the skills of these two men are way more important. I mean, you add one and one in this case, and you get three. They need to be working together. They need to be in concert. It doesn't have to be as tight as it was during the 4 months of Doge, but it needs to be better than it is right now. So let's hope that their efforts will succeed. Dan Ives has this to say this morning: Tesla board of directors, please take the following 3 steps. He says, number 1, get that new pay package, which gives Musk 25% voting control, and then clear a path for an xAI merger. Okay, so many in the community are all about and feel very strongly that the xAI merger with Tesla would be a great idea. I happen to be among that group. I think it's totally smart, totally makes sense, and I hope they do it. With regard to the pay package, of course, we all would like to see that pay package done, but I believe that we will hear more about that maybe in the next month or two out of Delaware. So I think they're waiting for that before they make the final decision in Texas. We'll see. By the way, we still haven't heard anything about the shareholders meeting, but I believe that will also probably be announced coming up on the 23rd. They'll probably announce the shareholders meeting. Number 2, they need to establish some guardrails for the amount of time that Musk spends at Tesla as part of the package. Oh, so we're going to have Elon clocking in and clocking out, are we? Now, I assume that what Dan Ives has in mind here is kind of a gentleman's agreement, or gentlemen and women's, or how do you say that today? A gentle person's agreement between Tesla and the board as to how he's going to split up his time. Maybe just a promise or something about spending more time. I don't know how you do that. Elon's mind goes and picks the spots. Anyway, not sure what Dan Ives has in mind there, but I don't think that's going to happen. maybe there'll be a gentleman's agreement. I don't know. Anyway, and then oversight on his political endeavors. I don't even know what that means. So this is what Dave Lee says. He says, this is crazy. You want Elon to start time tracking and logging his hours on a spreadsheet? Elon has proven himself over and over to be one of the greatest innovators and value creators of all time. He doesn't deserve to be treated like someone you don't trust. Either you trust Elon to run Tesla and judge him by the progress of Tesla's most significant long-term projects, such as FSD and Optimus, or you don't trust him, which would be foolish after all the innovation and value he has created. Yeah. Okay, Wall Street Journal, here we go. This is a very long article, so hang in. I think there's some nuggets here. I think there's some value here. For a while, Tesla was the hottest car on Chinese roads, and Musk was the toast of Beijing. Government officials showered the company with incentives, part of a concerted strategy to turbocharge the Chinese EV industry by injecting Tesla know-how into the country and spurring competition. And it worked. Tesla sales went great, and so did the other people. That was me. But the risk was always there that Tesla would start falling behind its rivals it helped create. Now that's exactly what's happened. Oh, wait a minute. Tesla still, the Y is still the number one car in China. Tesla Model 3 is still selling great. Factory seems to be going on all cylinders. Yeah, haven't increased sales as much, but sometimes there is a flat spot. Tesla's market share has shriveled. Well, yes, of course. When you have massive, massive target share, then you got other people coming in there. The market share is going to go down. Chinese consumers say Teslas increasingly feel tired and out of touch with local tastes. Top China-designed EVs nowadays come with features that aren't normally found in Teslas, such as multiple big screens to watch films and play games, refrigerators to keep your drinks cold, and in-car cameras for selfies. BYD, which makes both EVs and batteries, and battery giant Contemporary Amperex Technology, or CATL, they recently said that each had developed new technologies that allow users to charge their cars in just 5 minutes. So there's no doubt that there is some feature fights going on in China right now in the market. The various different companies are coming up with very cool things. At least some people would consider them to be cool. I don't think any of those things are as cool as having the best safety reputation, having cars that are just clean and well designed, having cars that also have a reputation for being quality and lasting for a long time. The user interface has always been way ahead of everybody else's. I don't know what's happening with over-the-air updates in China, just don't happen to know, but that's a big, 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 big deal. And then, of course, there's FSD, which they will talk about. I'm not saying none of these other things matter. They do. I'm just saying, so far, Model Y is still the number one selling car. Tesla's China staff have voiced concerns to headquarters about the company's aging products, but their warnings often drew sluggish responses. Yeah, I can understand that. Many Chinese consumers still appreciate Tesla's brand image as an EV pioneer, and the company retains support of Beijing. Chinese leaders see Tesla as a poster child of successful foreign investment and a useful ally. And also helping China build a green economy with such things as renewable energy, EV, and batteries. As trade tensions with the U.S. heated up this year, however, Chinese Premier Li Qiang made clear that Tesla's local operation wasn't to be targeted by any retaliation measures. But Beijing hasn't given Tesla full regulatory approval for full self-driving. This has been a big concern. Tesla, of course, wants to have as much ability to do FSD in China as they have in the United States. At the same time, the public breakup between Musk and Trump is limiting Musk's value to Beijing. In January, Chinese Vice President 𝐓𝐮𝐞𝐬𝐝𝐻 met Musk in Washington and told Musk that Beijing hoped he could play a constructive role in the U.S.-Chinese relationships. I think they probably still are looking for that. Musk wasn't receptive to Chinese overtures, however, people who consult with Chinese officials said, and because of the Musk-Trump feud, Beijing no longer views the Tesla chief executive as a geopolitical asset. Well, okay, I'm not sure how much of that, but I think that that's still there, by the way. Even with Tesla and even with Elon and POTUS's feud, Elon has many, 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 many connections that he made. Tesla remains important to China, said one of the people who consults with Chinese officials, but for authorities, helping domestic companies still matters more. 1,000%, I'm sure that's true. For Musk, who has pledged to refocus on Tesla now that he's distancing himself from Washington, I would have used different words there. Now that he has finished his promised time with Doge, success in China is vital. It's Tesla's second largest market by revenue after the U.S. and the car maker's biggest production and export hub, making up about half of global shipments. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, that's about right. And supplying companies for its worldwide manufacturing with other parts and supplies. If anything, China's importance to Tesla is growing after sales have declined in the U.S. and Europe due to earlier associations with Trump and/or horrific press in Europe and/or the big change of factories all at once in January, impacting all factories. Tesla has cut prices in China along with other Chinese EV makers and aims to launch a new Model Y variant, which it hopes will boost sales there. Yet Musk has appeared uninterested in making too many concessions to the market, instead relying on Tesla's reputation for quality and technology to remain a leading player in China, which seems to be working. Tesla didn't respond to requests for comment. Oh, really? The company said in April that in its earnings presentation about China that while conventional wisdom is that competition will be bad for Tesla, the company believes it would accelerate EV adoption and help Tesla's sales in the long term. You never want to bet against Elon Musk and the resilience of Tesla, said Michael Dunn, former General Motors executive who now runs an automotive consulting firm. Still, he says Musk likely knows there's a shelf life to many global companies operating in China and is looking for investments in places such as India in case China becomes more difficult. I think that there's no evidence at all. I mean, there's evidence that Tesla is expanding in other countries, but I don't think there's any evidence at all that Tesla is reducing its relationships in China, but they just built the mega factory. Musk is probably closer to sunset than sun up in his business in China, Dunn said. Nah, I don't think so. Tesla's most immediate challenge in China is its shrinking market share. We talked about that a minute ago. Tesla's market share, never mind. Tesla's salespeople in China say extra features such as diminishing battery, feature. Oh, Tesla's salespeople are using as their sales pitch the fact that all these other features diminish battery range and impede acceleration, are encouraging buyers to focus on Tesla's safety record. But they also complain privately about the difficulty of meeting rising internal pressures to hit sales targets. Okay, I've hired, fired, and managed hundreds of salespeople over the years. If they weren't doing this, I'd be wondering what the heck happened to salespeople. Salespeople always complain that the competition has the newest, latest, greatest thing. And, and some of the things are true. Some employees and analysts are skeptical about the strategy, which includes the new Model Y variant. They fear that a stripped-down model will be easily overmatched by local rivals. Tesla's Model Y SUV, its best-selling model in China, starts at about $36,000. So we've had this conversation before. Sorry, Gary Black. I just don't. I'm a product man like you, but I think I've had maybe more experience than just soaps. And my experience with multiple products over many different industries, I think over 30 industries that I've sold to, and on 3 continents, at least maybe 4. I don't see a big difference. I do prefer, for the purposes of branding, that this new vehicle be different in shape and design and look, and clearly less valuable if you're going to sell it for a lot less money. Look what's happening to S and X as Model Y and 3 are so close in terms of the quality and the performance. So yes, I'd like to see it be a real step down. But I don't know that it really matters to that consumer who would buy that TAM, the TAM for the total addressable market for people that want the lower price market, care whether it looks different or whether it just costs less and still has a lot of good stuff. Self-driving stalls. Well, Tesla's inability to fully roll out the FSD driver assistance services adding to its problem. Musk has wanted to launch FSD in China, not just to lift sales there, but also because China's EV market generates copious data that can improve FSD's capabilities. In April, Musk flew to Beijing and met personally with Premier Li, winning a tentative nod to move ahead with FSD in China. But then they released it, and then there was complaints, and then they released. Anyway, right now it seems to be that FSD is working really well in China, and there's been many videos showing that FSD is better than any of the other systems in China. But the article says, while Tesla spins its wheels, local competitors have introduced sophisticated driving assistance technology, often at lower prices. Definitely at lower prices. How about free That is a problem. But they just aren't as good, just like Mercedes isn't as good, just like anybody. All the rest of them are not as good as FSD. And of course, Chinese companies are moving ahead with robotaxi services. There's no doubt about that. We'll see how all that works out. Tesla's struggles in China today contrast with the pre-pandemic years when Chinese leaders appeared willing to do anything to court Musk. Tesla's sales in China surged, but now their market share is going down, but their numbers are still up there. Okay, what he didn't bargain for is that Chinese companies would catch up or would become really, really good. Of course, Elon knew that that was going to happen. He knows that their factory, that they're the leading manufacturer in the world. And there's a reason for that, because they really copy really, really well. And then they can throw on these additional features, which is, what you'd expect them to do. So anyway, that's the article. I thought there was a lot of kind of interesting stuff there about China. And then, of course, they do go into batteries also, where we know that Tesla, again, is a leader in terms of the quality and the functionality of the batteries, which is why they're doing so well there. So there's a problem here. So this is Randy Kirk, by the way, and there's a problem here. I'll have to solve the problem in just a second. Please hit like and subscribe and notify. And then I'm going to read the entire NFIB report to you. I think it's extremely useful because it's going to shed light on where business is right now at the bottom half of the business ladder. The really small businesses. It is later on, we're going to get into the banks this week, and the banks will give us their guidance. And so that'll be on Friday, and early next week, we'll hear from multiple banks, and they're going to tell us what's happening to the consumer, what's happening to business rents, what's happening to the value of business property, what do you call it, rental property, and things of that nature, which will give us another really good look at where the economy is. And these are better than these surveys and things. People look at these surveys, but no, what the banks are going to tell us in guidance is really huge. What we're going to hear later in the month from companies as they give guidance, the Krogers and the Magnificent Seven as they give guidance. This is where you're really going to get the meat, and that's what you hear on this channel. Yes, I still am going to report on the consumer confidence and all the rest of those things, but these surveys right now don't seem to be giving a very, very good, clear picture. So let me get into the NFIB report. Okay, here we go. The NFIB Optimism Index remained steady in June, but it did edge down a bit. It edged down 0.2 to 98.6. Remember, this is a survey, so those kind of numbers are, not very important. I'm going to look into the guts here. This is still above the 51-year average, however, of 98. A substantial increase in respondents reporting excess inventories contributed to the most to the decline. The uncertainty index decreased by 5 points. So these small businesses are less uncertain. You got to look at these things and make sure that you understand their wording here. So they're went up to 90 to 89. 19% of small business owners reported taxes as their single most important problem. So when taxes become your biggest problem, instead of trying to find employees or prices going up or some of the other things that have been their most important problems, I think that's good news. Small business optimism remained steady in June. Uncertainty fell. Taxes remain. They just repeated all that. So I'm sorry. A net negative 5% seasonally adjusted of owners viewed current inventory stocks as too low. So this means that their inventories are building. So they're just going to repeat that in 5 different ways. The net percent of owners expecting better business conditions fell 3 points. So that's a little bit, but it's still, but they point out this is still a historically positive reading. So they're still doing well. People are still optimistic about the future. The net percent of owners expecting higher retail sales volumes fell 3 points. So that was a little bit, a little bit soft. 21% seasonally adjusted planned capital outlays, and that's down only 1 point. So that's pretty flat. The percent of small business owners reporting labor quality is their single most important problem remained at 16%, so no change there. 11% of owners reported that inflation was their single most important problem, and their higher input costs were down 3 points, and the lowest reading since September of 2021. So inflation pressures continuing to ease. The data on overall health of respondents' businesses showed substantial deterioration, with declines in the percentage reporting their business was in excellent or good health. When asked to rate the overall health of the business, 8% reported excellent, which was down 6 points, with 49% reporting good, down 6 points, 35% reporting the health of their business was fair, that's up 7 points, and 7% reporting poor. So there was a statistically significant difference in terms of how people see their businesses right now. Labor costs reported as single most important problem for only 10%. 33% reported raising compensation, up 7 points from May, and the largest monthly increase since May. So there's still this labor compensation thing is still happening. And I suspect that this could continue. Again, we pulled a lot of labor out of the market with not adding 2 million laborers from immigration and reducing maybe something on the order of 1 million a year is going to have an impact on labor costs. And I think that this is going to help the labor, which is what Trump and 𝐓𝐻𝐮𝐞𝐬𝐝 keep saying, is that all their practices, all their effort here, they apparently don't care if labor costs continue to go up, let's say at 4% or 5%, with inflation at 1%. That'd be huge increases in real earnings for our labor. Of those making expenditures, 33% are spending it on new equipment, and 18% on vehicles, and 13% on expanded facilities. In June, the percent of small business owners reporting poor sales as their top business problem rose, but only by 1 point to 10%. And then a net negative 5% of all owners reported higher nominal sales in the past 3 months, and that's up 8 points. So why are these guys complaining that their businesses are not doing well if their sales are up? We talked about inventory already. We talked about that. Okay. The frequency of reports of positive profit trends was a net negative 22%. Well, there you go. So what's happening here is sales are okay. That's going to be a surprise to a lot of people. So sales in small business are okay, but their labor costs are going up and they're not able to pass along the prices. And so their profits are going down, and that's why they're complaining. 3% of owners reported that financing and interest rates were their top business problem. That is down 2 points. So they're not having trouble finding money. I've been reporting on this for a long time. I think this has to do with the aging of the population. All right, so 11% of owners reported that it's a good time to expand their business, up 1 point from May. And but that is a low reading. Even though it's better than May, it's a low reading historically. So they're not looking that much about expansion. All right, so we have Trump at 50%, where he has been 51%, pretty much average for the entire time. Trueflation sitting at 1.7 this morning, 1.7% this morning. That's down again from 1.75 yesterday. And then we had the VIX at 17 last time I checked. I'll go ahead and open that up right now. The VIX sitting at 16.88. Like I said, we are now going towards risk on, and the markets are turning a little bit right now in response. So we're getting the same thing happening with the markets as is happening with the VIX. Risk on is happening. The tariff thing is over, and Tesla has just leapt. I don't know why. Maybe there was some news, but we are now up 3.17% for the day to 303.26. I did say that I thought that this was going to be a no, the whole business with Elon was not going to be a big deal. The whole thing with starting this third party is not going to be a big deal. People are looking forward to what's happening with robotaxi. And this is a good morning this morning. All right, so let's see the Dow down 0.27%. The NASDAQ, however, is up 0.16%, and S&P is up 0.01, so pretty flat on the S&P. The Magnificent Seven are mixed, which is not shocking given what I just told you. And we've got the Cathie Woods mostly up, with PayPal and Block, which were up yesterday, are the only ones that are down this morning. So again, not sure why all that is, but that is just reporting without analysis. Sorry, that's all I got for you. Okay, let's go ahead and look at what I earlier at least was really bad news on bonds, and they are continuing up 3.2 basis points. We are now at 4.427. This is just nuts. We'll get back. We'll get more into bonds maybe tomorrow. I may have to have a deep dive into what's going on with the bonds. Okay, we've got oil up a little bit, just 17 cents this morning at 68. Again, shocking that oil is at 68. It seems like there's enough supply. Again, I'll try to get into that overnight and see why, after the output boost from OPEC, after the wars are settling down, why oil is going up makes no sense to me. We're already in summer. It's July, middle of July 8th or something today. Don't know. Makes no sense. But natural gas going down $3.37, down 1.29% this morning, which makes more sense. Gold down 32 today, down to 33.11. Silver down a little bit, 0.63, still sitting at 36.66. Copper down 0.49, $5 even, after being as high as 5.11. And so that's interesting. Why do I say every day that the money is mixed? We've got the euro up and the Japanese down. Anyway, Bitcoin up 496 this morning, 108,660. So Bitcoin is seemingly consolidating in the 108 range, 107, 108, 106. Been really, really, really flat for a while here. Not the wild swings that we normally associate with Bitcoin. What does that mean? Okay, let me just remind you again. Later on today, I will not have Nicholas Gibbs today. Maybe I'll have Larry Goldberg, but I'm not sure. If I don't have Larry Goldberg, I will have somebody helping me. Maybe it'll be Brian Wong. And then after that, yeah, you know what? It's kind of an uncertain day. I do have a Brian White ready to go, but I also have a huge report that I'm ready to spill, and maybe I'll do that instead tonight. I'm not sure. So you'll just have to check in. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen later today. I'm just not sure. But last night, what I do know for sure is that, yeah, you love him. You really enjoy when I get together with Nicholas Gibbs. That was a big hit last night, so you've probably already seen it, but I'll put the card up anyway, and you go check out the Nicholas Gibbs video that we did last night. It was a lot of fun. All right, that's all I got for you, right? Oh, you want me to check Tesla one more time since it was screaming higher just a minute ago? All right, we'll do that. Tesla is now about the same. Come down just a tad, 302.41. It has been great talking to you.